Guys, I don't really know what I'm doing here because this man needs very little introduction. A UFC Hall of Famer, a former UFC heavyweight champion, multiple time King of Pancras, movie star, and now commentator on season 2 of Karate Combat with NFL star Marshawn Lynch, premiering in the US on the 24th, which is tomorrow, and here in Australia on the 27th on beIN Sports. Friend of the show, you know him very, very well, the legend El Guapo Bas Rutten. Welcome back to the program, looking very, very sharp with that cigar. Look at that.
Nice guys. I was training with a karate combat T-shirt today, so I was all sweaty. I go like, oh man, I can't represent. I got to do this interview, So I found a rash guard. So, but don't let yourself fool you because I'm not walking around with a rash guard normally. This is just because I want to promote. In the gym, I will do it. But on the street, you would never see me walking around with it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was saying before, I thought you were John Danaher for a second when you picked up the phone with the rash guard.
But that's his shtick. He can do it, and he's really freaking good too. So all blessings to him.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's been a little while since we've spoken to you. Since then, the world's half fallen apart. There's fires in America. Joe Rogan's left California. What's it been like in California for you the last few months, man?
It's been a nightmare. There's the little, week here. Everything is it is so crazy. Thankfully, we are in a different county, so it's a little bit more open for us. But the gym is closed. You can't open the gym. We had 2 warnings. That means meant from that moment on, I think it's $3,000 a day if they catch you.
What do you mean warnings? As in you guys were open and they came and are like, hey, what are you doing here?
They literally they go to the door, they see if it's open. They do this to every business. And if it's open, you get a warning. I mean, it's so annoying. And then, this is the worst thing. You see something, say something. The people are ratting each other out right now. So if a person sits at home and they see somebody going to the gym, they literally call the police or they say, hey, that gym is open. They start ratting on you. I don't know what's going on in this world that people lower themselves so much to do things like that.
It's like an episode of Sopranos these days. Snitches get stitches. I don't know who's snitching out Bas Rutten, but whoever it is, you guys must be out of your damn mind. But before we speak about Karate Combat, Bas, we just want to quickly get your thoughts on a big fight that is going down this weekend as well. You're obviously one of the best strikers that MMA has ever seen, so we have to quickly get your thoughts on this upcoming fight between Paulo Costa and Israel Adesanya. I mean, first of all, when you look at Israel, where does he rank for you in terms of the best strikers in the UFC right now? Where would you rank him?
Yeah, at the very top. He's in the top 3 for sure. I mean, the way he's so elusive, so different, so effective. He's like the Anderson Silva, but different. And suddenly coming in and doing that, the way he fought Anderson Silva also, sure, he was older now, but still, I mean, the guy's a phenom. And then Adesanya's, I like people like that. They're so different. I always tell my students, I say, listen, I show, for instance, I'm doing a combination. And from the combination, I give a liver shot. And then suddenly I make a switch to a switch kick. And I say, and everybody's going to expect I'm going to switch kick to the body. But I'm switching switch kick to the legs, an inside low kick. I've never seen anybody do this. So do you think if you've never seen it, 100% sure it's going to work? Because everybody's going to brace themselves for impact to the body or to the head, because that's where the switch kick goes to. So all the attention is there, but then you kick the leg. You see what I mean? And things like that, that is what Adesanya does. And that makes him different. That is like a Sakuraba going all the way back with the crazy movements that he did, to district, and poof, that's suddenly a punch. TJ Dillashaw, the weird movement, the switching stances the whole time. I mean, he was it with Lomachenko? He was sparring with Lomachenko, TJ Dillashaw, and trust me, Lomachenko was even like, holy mota, what's going on here? I mean, that's how surprising he was, because he just fights like he never fought a person like that before. And that's the thing with Adesanya again. You never fought a guy like that before. You can't find him in training, in a workout. Power you can always find. But that kind of stuff you can't find. That's why it's hard to prepare for a guy like that.
It's interesting that you mentioned the power, because Israel has almost like a famous saying, which is, I don't need power. Everyone's got power. I have precision. And then enter Paulo Costa, who is known for, obviously having power. Not necessarily one punch knockout power, but, big power nevertheless. He's a big guy. I'm curious what you think about his striking. We had Dan Hardy on not that long ago, and he was sort of saying that he feels like a lot of the top guys are sort of too elusive for Paulo Costa, and he's going to struggle with those guys. They're too technical. When you get a guy with big power, he feels like he won't be able to sort of, do enough damage. The guys will be able to get out of the way. So I'm wondering, what do you think of Paulo Costa, sort of his run so far, and just him as a striker, the way he's able to implement his game plan?
Well, it's worth. When I look at Costa, I look at a Vanderlei Silva, at a guy who throws a lot of power. Everybody's already afraid before the fight. A lot of these fights he wins before they even start fighting. I truly believe so, because he's got so much power. But he needs to land those punches. That's the thing. Can he land it to Israel? Because he's, again, very elusive. If I was him, I would go work the body a lot, because Adesanya does the same thing as Anderson Silva, pulling his head back. Well, the body stays there, so straight to the body will always really work. Maybe even look him dead in the eye. I do this a lot in my classes. We had MMA gloves, guys. You can point. You can point at the you can point at the face, you can point, and then you go to the body. You see, what I'm doing is I point and I hit. I point and I hit. And if I do this a few times over the first round, then the story in his head is that when I point at his face, I'm going to hit him with a straight punch. So then I point and I look him dead in the eye and I go for the body. You see, those are really good things to trick your opponent. And I think you need something like that against Adesanya. But the power... Yeah, the power is there. He only needs to connect. But does he have the power for 5 rounds? Did he ever fight 5 rounds? Never. He fought one time 3 rounds against Romero, right? That was it. Mm-hmm. The rest finished everybody soon. So can he go into the championships rounds? Does he have enough gas in his tank? That's my question.
Yeah, so many questions going in there. And I love... The interesting with Paulo Costa is a lot of guys will cover up against him, but he's one of those guys that loves it when guys cover up, because he has those looping punches that just destroy people through their guards when they cover up, and that's when a lot of guys go down. Obviously, Israel is going to be doing that, but the big question here is, Bas, do you think Paulo could get to Israel and hurt him before Israel is able to pick him apart? What is your prediction for this fight?
Oh, okay. If I would be to the training camp of Costa, what I would say, our focus will be 100% on stamina, because that's what he's going to need. And the reason why he's going to need it is because he needs to push the fight. He needs to be in the face of Adesanya the whole time, push him backwards. There's nothing worse for a really technical striker than to be pushed backwards and then to still strike with precision and power. The precision he has. But if the feet are not on the ground at the moment of impact, well, you can't put your body weight in there. It's physically impossible. You see, can you still knock somebody out standing on one leg? Of course, you can always do that, if you hit at the right time. But if Costa's constantly in his face and constantly power putting in there, that's going to be a very hard fight for Adesanya. He can work angles, but you can only do that so long. Yeah? And especially if you train for it. Don't go straight back like Vanderlei did against Vito Belfort. You want to cut angles, of course, and make sure that doesn't happen. But still, if you train for that, it's very hard to get rid of Costa coming at you the whole time, if Costa trains for that. So that's what I would do if I was Costa, but then he needs to double up or triple up on the stamina, because it's going to take a lot of energy. He cannot give him an opening. If he gives him an opening, Adesanya is going to pick him apart from the outside. Once he gets tired, he's going to be picked aside from the outside. That's what's going to happen. But if you don't give him the outside and constantly be on him, that will be his best bet.
So just to clarify, I'm getting the sense the prediction is towards Adesanya, right? You see Adesanya winning?
I think so, because his movement is really good. He will not do what you said, like he blocking at those punches. He will be an idiot if he stops. If you think all the way back, freaking Bob Sapp beat Ernesto Hoost. How did he beat Ernesto Hoost? You know how it was? Because Ernesto Hoost did this, and he just hit him really hard on his hand, and his own hand cut him in the face, and then he lost the fight. So it was not a technical punch. It was just because his own hand came on. These are just guys who hit so hard that you don't want to take that shot, and Adesanya knows that. So he's going to stay away the whole time. He's going to use his hand as to keep him at bay, and he will not let him close by. But of course, it's easier said than done, because if Costa just pushes forward, well, Adesanya is going to have his hands full. But yeah, I do believe that he should win this fight, because he's that technical of a striker.
Man, I'd love to know, just quickly, you fought so many interesting guys in your career, so many technical guys, tough guys. Did you ever have a situation where you were going into a fight, you were clearly the better striker, but a guy has surprised you that, maybe isn't technically right there, but in the fight you're like, wow, this is actually a lot more than I thought it was going to be going into this one?
No, but I can give you another example, and it was a student of mine, and unfortunately I was away for 3 weeks, and he had a fight And this guy is a heavyweight from us, and he is technical. It's like he's moving around like 185. He is fast. He's got everything. But the problem with that is, and he's super powerful, that in the gym he's pushing everybody backwards. So he's used to everybody pushing backwards. Then he fought a guy who was not that technical, but the guy didn't give a crap, and he just came forward. He lost that fight. That was his very first fight he fought. He lost it. And I told him, this is the best way for you to lose because you didn't get knocked out. Nothing happened. It was a decision. I said, but this mistake you will never happen. You will never make again. You see, so if you use like Adesanya also, if he's in training and he's always pushing people around and now suddenly somebody comes forward in his face and he's not used to that, well, there we go again. If you do something else that they're not used to, most of the time you're going to win.
Fascinating, man. And I've been wanting to ask you about another prediction for a while as well, Bas, just while we have you. A man that you know very well from your days of commentary in World Series of Fighting is, of course, Justin Gaethje, somebody who's you've been singing the praises for Justin for ages, and now here he is finally getting he's the interim champion now, but he's made his way to an official title shot against Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'm curious, do you give him a chance against Khabib? How do you see this one playing out?
I think he could be the guy who beats him. I truly believe so because he's a great wrestler. He might stop his takedowns. Listen, the best thing that ever happened to Gaethje was getting knocked out. Because I've been telling him in the World Series of Fighting and then at the PFL so many times, I said, why do you fight like this? And he says, because it's exciting. I want to be here for the fans. And I said, dude, but eventually it's going to hurt you. You want to be able to speak to your kids when you're going to have kids, right? And he goes, yeah, but I just love this fighting style because everybody enjoys it. When he got knocked out, now suddenly he started fighting like his coach Trevor Whitman really wants, and now he started letting miss and coming back. And I made the way he was Ferguson. I mean, that was scary. I was afraid for Ferguson. When he started shaking his head, I thought, oh, dude, he's got brain damage. Something is wrong here. I mean, he got hit so hard. Nobody's been able to knock that guy out to stop him. And then Gaethje comes. And I thought that, I know Gaethje is in Denver and he's got the mile high and, they have great stamina. But I thought Ferguson, he can keep on pushing, but he had no problem. So now Khabib is going to face somebody with endless stamina, a freaking heart as big as a lion. Even if he's tired, he will do the craziest things. He's got great low kicks. He's got great takedown defense. And who knows, man, because he really started thinking later in his career, and that's why you see him shine now. Maybe he's going to shoot for a takedown. You don't know what he's going to do. Never did it before. I already told him, I said, you're such a great wrestler. It's like Benji Radek a long time ago. This guy, I mean, I don't call names, but we had the best wrestlers coming in the fighting business. He would drill those guys into the ground. And I always told him, I said, why don't you take your opponent down? Because he did it one time with Murillo Ninja. He took him down, boom, one shot knocked him out because he's got crazy power in his hands. I said, why don't you do this all the time? Yeah, but people want to see me stand. I said, who cares about that? It's care about winning. And you still win by knockout. It's not like you write it out on the ground. You see, so it's powerful, man. And I think that Gaethje can really do that as well, together with his low kicks. I wouldn't do that in the beginning, especially, because that might set him up to be taken down. But now we're going to find out if he can stop the takedowns from Khabib. And if he can, Khabib might be in trouble.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, everyone talks about Justin Gaethje's leg kicks, and they are brutal. He brutalizes people's legs with them. But obviously, when you do that, you leave yourself open to the takedown. So if you're Justin Gaethje, how do you think Gaethje can implement them in a smart way without ending up on his back against Khabib?
Well, I think it's for him. He knows he's got the endless stamina, so he's going to push this fight. And Khabib can be in great shape. But here we go again. Khabib's probably the guy who works everybody in the gym, so he needs to find ways to still get him really tired, because otherwise he's not getting tired because he's playing his game and he's in his zone. He needs people to push him the whole time. So like I had that because I had one sparring partner. So I would kick it back for a minute and a half as hard as I could. Then I lay on the ground. He can take any position. Then we start rolling. 2 minutes later, I kick it back 1.5 minutes as hard as I can. So I was getting really tired and then let him come on top of me. That is something that Khabib needs to do. And I think that if Gaethje is pushing, and once he gets tired, that's the moment you want to start implementing the low kicks, like in round 3 or 4, once they start getting tired, because Khabib's never been in I think nobody ever fought a guy like Gaethje. I think about it. This guy just comes forward the whole time and everything is power, and he's got endless stamina. It's a very hard guy to fight. Now, if Khabib can take him to the ground and he's on top, we don't know yet what's going to happen there. But, with his wrestling pedigree, I would say that he's going to be able to control everything on the ground. We simply never saw him in that position yet.
I got to ask, just finally on Khabib. People are saying, one more fight after Justin Gaethje. Dana White says it could be GSP, but we also know he really wants to rerun this fight with Conor McGregor. If you had to choose Khabib's final fight in the UFC, which one would you rather see, McGregor 2 or GSP Khabib?
Yeah, that's a hard question. I would love to see a McGregor in there who can go full distance, 5 rounds. Like let's say he's been doing only training stamina for the last 6 months, because I think that's his downfall. Every time when he gets tired, that's when he starts losing. So he needs to brush up on the stamina, and that will be a really great fight. But looking at GSP, what he did, what he accomplished, the last fight against Bisping, getting the title, and then if he would do this, and he's got a big chance because his takedown defense is just top notch. And if he can stop the takedowns from Khabib, I mean, his striking is better. I know it's better, So that will be very interesting to see if he can win that fight as well. But if he does that, that's going to live on for the next 1,000 years. I mean, he put himself really on the map, and he's already on the map, But wrapping up like this with a win over Khabib, and especially if Khabib is going to beat Gaethje, of course. But if he's not, then it's always the question. You know how people are. You're only as good as your last fight, and it sucks because you got these greats like Fedor Emelianenko, Vanderlei Silva, all these guys who are great fighters and they lose a few times, and now suddenly they're not looked at anymore. And I don't like that. I think you should look at the career when they were in his prime. That's the most important. That's where a fighter shines.
For sure. And yeah, it is going to be interesting with Khabib's next fight. Dana wants Khabib, and then obviously Khabib wants GSP. So we'll see who wins that battle. But man, let's talk Karate Combat. I'm very excited. It's going to be debuting here in Australia on the 27th, and you're going to be commentating alongside Seahawks running back Marshawn Lynch. What can we expect from you guys this season?
Craziness, man. That man, I have met a lot of people in my life, but with him, I can hang out every single day of the week. Let me tell you that. He's hilarious. He's very funny. I mean, he does what he wants to do, so we need a lot of editing in the beginning because profanity was coming out. It was funny, but it comes from a good place. It's not like he tries to do it and tries to be interested. No, it just gets out there, but also to see because in the beginning we were looking at the fights and he wasn't sure if he really would like it. And after the first fight, I mean, his eyes were lighting up because, dude, this is much better than I thought it was, boss. This is crazy. So, yeah, now he's hilarious. Expect a good time, not just for the fighting, but also in the commentary when that guy's there.
It's got a real kind of like Mortal Kombat vibe about it. The guys are fighting in a pit. And also, it kind of seems like karate is more popular than it has been for a really long time. Like shows like Cobra Kai, for example, one of the most watched shows on Netflix right now. It kind of seems like people have a real hunger for karate again. Do you feel like there's a lot of buzz going into the season and sort of people are going to be pleasantly surprised when they do see the product for the first time when it debuts?
100%. And the reason, I'm telling you the reason, because a lot of parents with younger kids, they don't want their kids to watch the Thai boxing. It's a little bit too brutal. And MMA, because parents see blood and they right away say, oh, it's bad. Which is not. We know it's not. But, this is how parents are and they want to protect their kids. I think if the kids are going to say, hey, mom and dad, I want to watch karate. Oh, hey, let's watch it with the whole family. Because karate is the respecting. And that's another great thing about these guys. Some of them, most of them, there's all respect. But sometimes you have guys who start screaming at each other, but then right after they screamed, they stand across each other, they both bow. I mean, the respect stays there. It's not like they've been pushed apart and screaming at each other. No. They do that at that moment. And as soon as they step back, they bow at each other respectfully. And then the next day is the fight. So that's what I like about karate. It was one of the first sports I started with, so when they asked me if I wanted to be the ambassador, the brand ambassador, so to say, from Karate Combat, I said, oh, man, yes, of course I would love to, because I think we can really bring it back. And the smart thing is also all these guys that you see fighting in Karate Combat, a lot of these guys are on the Olympic teams. So these are not just guys. We have really good world champions who also compete in the Olympics, which, by the way, is almost the same rules, only, of course, it's not full contact in the Olympics. But for the rest, it's pretty much the same. Once they start allowing the hooks and uppercuts, oh, man, that wasn't for me. Because first they said the Mawashi Tsuki, which is a left hook. but they didn't want uppercuts. But now they said, okay, we allow the uppercuts. The only thing is what not allowed is knees. We don't do that, and low kicks to the thigh, but low kicks to the legs, to the calves, are legal, and you see that a lot. And also, you already talked about the pit. It's got the 45-degree angle walls, and the fighters in the beginning they didn't know what to do with it. But now you're going to see a lot of these guys using that to their advantage. You can't lock somebody up in the corner anymore. He simply walks up and he passes you on the side, or he uses it for a Superman punch or flying kick. We've seen the craziest things. The other thing that they have is a 5-second takedown rule. So if you take your opponent down, you put him on his back, you're allowed to hit him for 5 seconds, full seconds. So you see the referee starts counting. Now the wall, the 45-degree angle wall, is considered also the ground. So when he lays back, he's still, you're still standing. You just can't go to town on your opponent. So it brings a whole new strategy into the game, you know, because now it's harder to lock somebody up in the corner. You got the heels. When is the ground? When are you grounded? Yeah, the sky is the limit. If you see it, and the way they film, we're futuristic. We're in a different world. We couldn't do it here on Earth because of the COVID, of course. That was a big problem. So they beamed us up, and we're somewhere in a different world. If you see it, we have to thank Elon because of that. Elon, thank you very much for he had the great connections.
That's right. I mean, watching some of the product already and some of the clips, it's one of those things where it's beautiful to watch. But also for fight fans who think that, hey, this is just karate, man, there are some crazy knockouts that you wouldn't see anywhere else. So that is going down on beIN Sports. That is here in Australia on the 27th. Make sure to check the TV guide for the airtime. And of course, people without beIN can watch it on from Monday on karate.com and Karate Combat YouTube. Make sure to also follow Karate Combat on IG for all the highlights at Karate Combat and a taste of the action. And of course, the man himself, Bas Rutten, and Bas Rutten MMA, we assure you he does not wear rashies without smoking a cigar on the street, which makes it okay. And don't you rat this man out. If you're out there, all the informants out there, all the COVID informants, leave this man alone. He is a national and worldwide treasure. Bas, it's a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you guys very much. It's going to be awesome, man. We got a monk. We got a freaking special forces Greek guy. We got a guy who's fighting because his brother got murdered on the street. So and he was a karate guy. He's fighting for his brother. I mean, we have the crazy stories, really great stories as well. Nice packages about fighters. So you're really going to find out what makes that fighter tick. So, yeah, look for that as well.